What's going on, YouTube? It is the Dual Threat Podcast here, your daily news source for all things sports. My name is Drew, and this is my co-host.
My name is Jacob. Everybody, how's it going? We are going to get into our predictions for this weekend, everybody. We're going to talk about two games. We're going to talk about a game near the top of the Big 12 in Oklahoma State and Texas, and we're going to talk about a game at the top or near the top of the Pac-12 in Oregon and UCLA. So, Drew, I'm going to toss it over to you. You get us started with the first game.
Will do. All right, so we've got two-loss Texas playing against one-loss Oklahoma State. At this point, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, Sanders is still up in the air as to whether he's playing or not. I know his shoulder has been bothering him this past week, and it was very, very obvious to see that that was the reason why they lost to TCU. And so, if I'm being completely honest here, my breakdown is very simple for this game, and it relies on his shoulders. If he plays, literally relies on his shoulder. If he plays, then I believe that Oklahoma State should win this game. The spread opened at, I believe it was 2.5. It's moved all the way up to 6.5 in Texas's favor. I believe that's because that it's maybe more, as the week goes on, and they haven't announced that Sanders is 100%. I think people are just starting to assume that he's not playing. I also saw a really interesting statistic that I'll talk about in a little bit that actually falls into Texas's favor. But with Oklahoma State, they lost one game last week to TCU. They were up by 21, I believe, at one point. And then Sanders, obviously, you could see his shoulder was bothering him. He had to run a lot more. His stats did not look great in that second half. And so that's when TCU came all the way back and beat him barely in overtime. And so I believe that, if Sanders were to play this game, I think they can beat Texas. I think Texas and TCU are somewhat like, I think if they played on a neutral field, you could maybe say that it'd be a toss-up game. And the fact that Oklahoma State was beating them by 21 at one point kind of just shows me that Oklahoma State is the better team when they're fully healthy. But that being said, Oklahoma State's run defense has not been good this year. We know Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson are two, the best duo running back in the country, in my opinion. And the run defense has not been phenomenal. I mean, they played TCU last weekend. I believe they gave up like 300 rushing yards. And I think it's safe to say that Texas has a better offensive line and better running back. And so I think that Texas can probably exploit that, because if you look at it, TCU and Texas are very similar in the fact that they split their plays. They have half pass, half rushing, and they got a lot of yards doing both last week. And I don't see it improving, especially with the new news that one of Oklahoma State's defensive tackles and Brandon Evers is opting out for the rest of the season to get ready for the NFL draft. So I'm not sure. I mean, it completely relies on Sanders for me, but I'm going to assume just in this scenario that Sanders is playing this game, and he's probably not at 100%. And so I don't think it's going to be a blowout like it would have been against TCU had he were playing. So I'm going to say 32-35, Oklahoma State win. Jacob, what do you think about this game? And then after you're done with this, come back to me, because I also want to say another statistic here.
All right. I'm kind of with you. I think Spencer Sanders plays a lot of role in the outcome of this game. Obviously, you touched on it a lot, but the problem I think is, even if he does go out there and play, like, we could be getting, like, if you remember in 2019 when Tua played against LSU, like, he's still not healthy, and everybody considers that a full strength Alabama team, but like Tua, even though he's playing not healthy, it's like, really, maybe Alabama wins if he's fully healthy. That's kind of the vibe I'm going to get. I honestly think Texas wins no matter what. You kind of touched on it earlier. Oklahoma State's run defense is bad. Their pass defense is worse. And they give up 300 yards a game, and Quinn Ewers is definitely going to be able to throw all over their defense. If Sanders plays, I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. Like, I'm talking like 42-45 kind of game. If he doesn't play, I still think Texas will score around 45, but I think it'll be more like I don't, or if he plays and is hurt, I guess I should say. If he's plays healthy, this game is a toss up. But so yeah, I think if he's fully healthy, I think 42-45 Texas. And if he's the same quarterback as last week and relying on his legs, I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback. But if he can't throw the ball, exactly, stamp of approval from us. But if he can't throw the ball and he becomes a single threat quarterback and all he can do is run, they're not going to keep it close. It'll probably be like 45, like 35, maybe, if even. And that's probably best case if Spencer Sanders either doesn't play or plays like he did last week. I think Texas has a pretty good shot to win no matter what.
I think I agree with you if Sanders doesn't play. I would probably predict 42-28 win, so even more than what you said. But this is also a very important statistic going towards what you said, Texas winning. Maybe if you don't have Instagram, you're not sure about this because every female on the planet is posting on their story right now. But Taylor Swift is coming out with a new album this weekend. And Texas is 8-1 following a Taylor Swift album drop dating back to 2006. And as a touchdown favorite, it looks pretty good for Texas right now. So that, an important stat to keep in mind when you're watching that game this weekend. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our second game here. Jacob, I started this off for our first game. Why don't you go ahead and start us off for the second one here?
I agree. We're riding with T Swift and the horns. Okay, yeah. Second game we're going to be talking about is 6-0 versus 5-1 UCLA versus Oregon. This one's kind of interesting because after week one, everybody was like, Oregon's dead. They just got stomped by Georgia, yada, yada, yada. And then they've won 5 straight pretty convincingly and find themselves back in the top 10. I think this is a really important game for both teams. Oregon has a chance to win the Pac-12 with a win here. And UCLA, if they go 7-0 with a top 10 win right now, they'll probably be in the 6-5 conversation and have a legitimate playoff shot. Granted, if they won the Pac-12, they probably would anyway. But this one's at Oregon. Oregon's defense, I mean, kind of the same as what we were talking about before. Their rush defense is actually pretty decent, which for another dual threat quarterback, stamp of approval. Like DTR that's going to be big. If he's forced to pass, I mean, coming into the season, it felt like DTR, all he can do is run. He's just a running back, but he's really shown growth and improvement in the passing game. So I think he'll be able to manage, but not nearly as much as if he can mix in a rush and a pass. And I mean, you see that all the time, how dangerous those guys are purely based on you never know what's coming. So if UCLA can clamp down the run game, Oregon can clamp down the run game, I think they have a pretty decent chance of winning. But otherwise, I think I like UCLA in this game. I mean, Oregon is 6-point favorites. Wow. I thought UCLA was favored. Well, I'm definitely taking the points with UCLA if I were a betting man, which of course I'm not. But I think that I don't know, man. I like UCLA to win pretty much no matter what. I mean, we watched Bo Nix just be absolutely horrible for 3 years in Auburn, and I mean, he could have one of those crazy Auburn, Alabama games, or he could play like he did against Georgia. I mean, we talk about him a lot, and you never really do know with Bo, but I like UCLA here. I mean, DTR is a dude, and I think they're going to win. I think it'll be medium scoring, but a pretty close one as well, just because these teams are both playing for a lot, and I think they'll both come to play. I'm kind of thinking along the lines of like 35-31 maybe ish. I think maybe Oregon's going down to score a game winning touchdown and they can't pull it off or something. But I do think this will be a great game to watch and one I'm excited for. Drew, what are you thinking?
All right, so you're rocking with Oregon, huh? I'm actually going to disagree with you.
No.
I'm sorry. You're rocking with UCLA. I'm going to disagree with you. So it looks like it's another week of 2 disagreements here. What if Sanders plays? If not, then we agree there. But I don't know, man. I mean, Oregon I have not been the biggest Bo Nix fan, but he has looked great this year. I mean, I've got to give him credit. He looked bad against Georgia, and maybe it's just his weakness is the SEC. I guess I don't know because didn't look great in at Auburn, but he's looked really good this year, and his stats have been great. He's been able to run the ball. They have three running backs on their team that they basically split with. Well, one being Bo Nix, so really only two other running backs, all with at least 40 attempts this year, with over 6.5 yards per carry each of them. And they've been able to run the ball a lot. Bo Nix has 8 touchdowns on the ground, 12 more in the air this year. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. I think 2 of those were against Georgia in the first game of the year. And so he has really improved throughout the year. So I'm going to give him credit where it's due. Of course, I'm going to say all this, and then he's going to go back to the Bo Nix of old and let me down. But I'm putting my faith in Bo Nix this weekend. I'm giving Oregon the win, but I'm actually going to go with a field goal here. So I'm thinking it'll be 28-31 or 30. No, let's go 31-34, 35. 31-35. That's my final.
So the same score but flipped.
Oh, is that what you went with?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes here.
Yeah, I don't know. Bo Nix can look good against bums all he wants, but when he actually plays a good team, we'll see how it goes. So
fair point. But is UCLA a good team or just they haven't played anybody?
they beat Utah.
That is true.
Utah's a good team. They beat Washington, who isn't great, but they're better than Stanford or whoever else their best win is. Oregon's.
Yeah, but Utah's kind of mid. I mean, they lost to Florida. They're terrible. They beat
Utah's
USC.
not mid.
They beat USC on a fluke.
Maybe it was a fluke, but
I guess that's
they're
all
still
that
good.
matters, huh? You just
They're
gotta
still
win
good.
once. All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. You got anything else, Jacob?
No, I think that's it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment. Tell us what you think. I mean, last week, I don't want to rub it in, Drew, but in our predictions, I picked Tennessee and Michigan to win. And Drew picked the other side of both of those games. And if you remember the scores, one of us came out on top. I won't say which. I'll let you think about it. But we'll see if I can repeat that. Currently 6-0 in the season in predictions also, but whatever. I'm not to toot my own horn. That's just about it. But I say all this and now my picks are both going to be wrong. So if that happens, flame me in the comments. I'm here for it.
Hey, I'll tell you what, before we go, this will be the last time I ever mention Penn State because we have beef now. Y'all are fraud. I thought you were less fraud than Michigan, but no, you're more fraud. Unbelievable. No. Sean Clifford let me down. My dad let me down. It's ridiculous what I saw last Saturday. Blown out 41-17.
Yep. Like I said, Michigan might be fraud this year. We'll see in big games, but Penn State is what Michigan used to be. Any team with a number by their name, just absolutely, fraudulent. But
all right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to comment your predictions for these games as well. So you just don't come back in a few days and flame us for our wrong picks. You got to put your own first, so we can flame you back if you decide to flame us. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace out.